Welcome to the 359. I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Joni Salzman.
Samsung got a wave of attention for introducing its first foldable phone, the Galaxy Fold, last week. Not to be outdone, though, a bunch more companies came out with their own foldable phone news at Mobile World Congress soon after. The most notable new entrant is the Huawei Mate X. Maybe it's the Mate 10. We don't even know what an X is anymore, which will cost, wait for it, $2,600. And it's expected to come out, I think, a little like later this year. But I mean, what do you think of that price?
That's really expensive. But we are talking about, the next wave of technology for your little supercomputer that you hold in your hand. So it's kind of like the first really new thing in a phone in a long, long time. And so I'll at least give foldable phones, I'll grant them that if you're doing something that's legitimately different, putting the price higher makes sense. Where it gets annoying is where it's like, we have really incremental advancements. Instead of bringing the price of a phone down when you're not really revolutionizing it, that's where It's annoying that it goes like higher and higher and higher.
One of the other interesting arguments, so the Samsung Galaxy Fold is $2,000, and that one's coming out at the end of April. And one of the interesting arguments about justifying that price was, okay, well, you're not actually buying one phone, you're buying two phones. Because it folds out and it's kind of two phones or whatever.
Right.
I don't know how much I buy that, but at least it got me a little bit closer to being like, oh, yeah, sure, I would pay that. No, not really. Some of the other interesting foldable phone news that I wanted to get to, TCL also showed off a concept phone that bends into a watch.
Cool.
I don't know about that one. And Xiaomi in January showed off a video of a phone that folds kind of like a billfold, sort of. It'll be easier to explain in video. It's basically, it starts like this, and then it folds on either side.
Right.
And turns like kind of more into like a tinier phone or something. So what I wanted to also ask is, do you think that, especially after the prices go down on this stuff, that people are actually going to want to buy this? Let's say it reaches like, let's say $1,000, $1,500.
Right.
Is it going to be a gimmick, or are people really going to be into it?
I think that what people are going to be waiting to see, besides the price tag going down, is whether or not this means your phone dies. Like if you're going to drop like $2,600 on a phone, does that mean that it only lasts for 3 months because you keep folding it back and forth? I think that longevity of the phones is going to be something that people are going to be waiting to see how it fares, and that's going to take time. It's going to take months for people to have them out in the world to see what happens when you drop them.
Yeah. Next, Netflix did really well at the Oscars last night.
Pretty well.
They did fine. We'll give them a B-. Raking in 3 awards for Roma in Best Directing, Cinematography, and Foreign Language Film. It did fall short in a Best Picture win. So for streaming services, that big Best Picture win is still up for grabs.
Yeah. They still haven't snatched Hollywood's biggest ultimate prize quite yet. So Netflix, they had a good night. They have always gotten a cold shoulder from the Oscars because of a lot of resistance to their way of releasing films, which has traditionally been you release it for Netflix subscribers online to stream the same day you put it in, like a sprinkling of theaters around the country, which is really only to qualify for things like the Oscars ultimately. But they have only won 2 Oscars up to this point, and they've never won in a really big category, a really flashy category before. And so winning 4 total and having Roma win these kind of high-profile awards was a big step forward for them, even if they didn't get Best Picture.
Kind of bigger picture here. Sorry about that horrible pun. Bigger picture, why does it matter for Netflix at all? Or for viewers to win these awards?
It's one of the big sticking points for top talent to come to Netflix has been, Netflix MO is always like, we got a giant check, we'll wave it in front of your face. But that hasn't been enough for everybody. Like they missed out on Crazy Rich Asians because the creators didn't just want money. Other movies have been the same way. And that top echelon of filmmakers that a lot of subscribers probably want to see those films have been resistant because of things like there's no track record of getting Oscars and other elements. And so getting these Oscar wins for Alfonso Cuarón and Roma is definitely a step in the direction of appeasing those worries.
Wow, we want more than money. Good for them, I guess. If you want to read more about these stories, check them out on CNET. I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Joni Salzman.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks as always for joining us for another recording of yet another edition of the 359 podcast. You can subscribe using the links in the description below. You can also check out the links to the corresponding stories. There are definitely a lot more images and galleries and much more video to watch in regards to these Mobile World Congress unveilings and the folding phones, like the concept watch that we didn't really show any of during the show. You can check out more by clicking the links below. In the meantime, of course, everybody wants to talk more about the folding phones. Ben and Joan, who do we think is really coming out on top here? Huawei or Samsung?
Samsung, because they're Huawei. You don't even know when their phone's going to come out. Apparently, it's going to show up sometime this year. But Samsung revealed their phone at a major press event. They said the exact date it was going to come out. Here's the price on it. So I think the one to beat at this point is Samsung. Plus, it looks pretty decent for a first generation of a phone. I mean, it looks like it works, except for the fact that nobody's really been able to review it or hold on to it. So they do have, kind of this very well curated demo. But at the same time, they are confident enough that they do have a release date ready. And they did say that it has been tested out to actually be able to fold out, thousands of times so that it's not going to die on you. As you said, durability is obviously going to be a main issue with these things.
Do we think that the folding phone, how do I want to phrase this? I'm trying to combine 15 questions all into one place here because there's a lot of really great concepts floating around in the chat. Is the folding phone something that the average user can come to embrace and become functional, if not beneficial? Or is this just a gimmick with the latest new and flashy toy?
That's a very good question. We don't know. We really don't know. And the thing that I keep going back to is that tablet sales haven't really been that good for years.
Yeah.
So when you fold out this phone, it basically becomes a tablet. And we've seen that tablets, what are they good for? Why do people use tablets?
Watching shows and movies.
I guess if your phone folds out to a tablet, you could watch a movie, and that would be the more likely thing to do.
I think a better comparison or analogy would be to look at the long-term popularity of larger screen phones rather than comparing it to a tablet. Because I think that the reason that tablets aren't phones, they just aren't. You can't carry it in your pocket.
But now you can.
Exactly. That's what I mean. And so I think that the instinct to compare it to a tablet it isn't a purchasing decision analogy. I think it's
it's a screen size analogy.
It's a screen
You're
size.
right.
Yeah. And so whether or not I think that there's definitely an undercurrent. People want to have more battery life. They want bigger screens. And they want lower prices. Those are I think 3 things that are kind of consistent.
Yes, and they are obviously in conflict with each other.
Right. So you're getting one of those 3 things with a foldable phone. You get
Sometimes
a bigger screen
2.
that's easy to take around with you, assuming that they actually work well. I don't think it's a gimmick. In the sense that I don't think it's just something that people are. A gimmick I would consider something that a handset maker is just kind of rolling out to kick the can down the road, and I don't think this is what's happening right now.
It's definitely being presented as revolutionary.
Yeah.
It does have an air of hypeness to it, but we're gonna find out how much people are really gonna get excited about it. I like what you said in that maybe we shouldn't compare it to tablets, because I'm thinking, okay, I have a commute that's about an hour each way to get into work every day. I'm on the train. I want to watch Netflix. I have the option.
Let's say read a book.
Let's say, oh, come on. Reading books. That's ridiculous.
It'd be really easier to read your book with the big letters on a giant screen.
Exactly. If I have the option, suggesting I drop down $2,000 to actually buy this thing, if I have the option during lean back entertainment time to either have a phone that I'm scrolling through, or I fold this thing out and start watching something or reading, you know.
could literally hold it like a book, right? Couldn't you?
Well, it kind of folds out like this. It's not booky.
But you could,
exactly.
couldn't you? If you wanted?
I don't think it works that way.
Oh, well.
What if it had folding gesture control? So if you did this, it turned the page.
That would be cool.
I'd be into that.
Okay.
That's gimmick. That I
That's
consider a
total
gimmick, but it's still kind of cool.
I'm into it. It's a gimmick,
It's
but you've completely
experiential.
sold me on it. But either way, I think Joan's making some good points that no, it's it's probably not a gimmick, and there are good justifications for it. The question is are those do those justifications outweigh the price, which is really high, which is you could buy a very high spec laptop for $2,600.
Yeah.
So this question just came in, but it's really well founded here. You talk about comparison. CMDR Trium asks, is comparing tablet sales to cell phone sales really a fair comparison?
Yeah, and I think probably not.
No,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, for those reasons. I think they're just different. They're different reasons for owning those devices. And tablets especially, especially as phones have gotten bigger and more powerful, they are kind of in this no man's land where it's like
The tablets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
And they may have been cannibalized a little by phones.
Yeah. And although I do think that like the Surface tablet, like tablets that you can transition into these light laptops, I was using a Surface tablet briefly last year. And I was like, oh my God, this is kind of amazing. And I did like it a lot, but not enough that I wanted to run out and buy it.
Yeah. You would want to run out and buy it, though, if you could fold it in half.
Yeah, and put it in my pocket. I probably would. If I could fold it up into a little Rubik's Cube, put it in my purse, that would be cool.
That would be amazing.
I'd buy that.
Just keep folding it.
It did cost like $500,000, but whatever.
Sure. But anyway, I guess this was a good way to talk through my tablet line of questioning, or my tablet talking point, which apparently nobody agrees with.
So, I mean, we're talking about the experience aspect of things, and the chat's lighting up with how Samsung really needs to sell that as an experience, inclusive,
Totally.
like trying to build it out into a more all-in-one, right? You know, work in the decks, make it a desktop experience, it goes on the go. It's not too far. Like, in my head, I'm kind of thinking like Nintendo Switch, you know, on the go and in one spot. Michael Brown really kind of hit the nail on the head. He says, I think everyone's just dying for an all-in-one device. They don't know it until they see the use cases. Mike Shaw asks, can a folding phone truly replace your laptop? Because, I mean, $2,000.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No,
not yet. But
Yeah.
it would actually be really hilarious if the phone folded out in such a way that you could connect it to a keyboard, kind of like a Surface laptop.
Yeah.
That seems possible in the future, but at this point, it's like the Samsung Fold, the Galaxy Fold folds out from 4.6 inch. It's roughly 4 inch to 7 inch. I didn't get the points right. I apologize about that. So 7 inches, you're not doing a lot of hard work on that, and I don't think that that's the plan.
Yeah.
They did show that you could do a lot of multitasking, so you've got it open to the 7-inch display, and you can run like 3 different apps at the same time. That being said, how many people are actually doing that? What am I doing, my stock trading on my phone?
Well, I mean, I feel like in a streaming video environment, that's helpful. Like last night watching the Oscars, I had 3 screens on. I had the Oscars on my TV screen. I had my laptop open so I could work on it. And I had my phone so I could look at Twitter. Feasibly, I could eliminate one of those screens by just having like my Twitter and the stream of the Oscars just going right there on the 2 different sides.
Yeah.
So like I think that the multitasking as the screen get bigger has uses if you want to watch something, if you want to have a second screen experience, but just have it on one screen.
like a multi-tiered second screen experience.
Yeah, maybe something like that could be useful.
Cool.
Yeah, but it'll be hard to replace something like this with that.
That's why they're still here.
It will be cool if we can have stretchable foldable phones,
Yes.
and we could stretch it to be a big screen TV, and you
It's-
could just like hang it on your wall when you get
In
home.
process.
In the
Samsung
works.
said they're working on stretchable, and the fact that they actually came out with a foldable phone, I know
Yeah.
I've heard about the concept of foldable phones since I started working here almost 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's actually finally hitting commercialization in April,
Yeah.
I guess it means stretchable could eventually show up. But
Future's now.
the future is foldable and then stretchable.
And then stretchable.
And then what?
And then origamiable. You can just fold it
Rollable.
into a little
No,
crane.
then you fold. Then you're like you're the piece of technology.
I can fold myself up to fit in my pocket.
Right, in your own pocket or in like a giant's pocket.
In
I'm
Soviet-
now envisioning giant aliens took over and they're folding us.
Right.
In Soviet Russia, phone fold you. All right, really great comments and questions filtering through. Let's take this one from Steve. Notice how Samsung never really mentioned how long the battery's going to
Right.
last. How will folks
Right.
feel if the battery runs down after watching a movie? Do we have any insight onto battery life on these guys?
Yeah, the
Either
good news
one.
is that they did mention, how do we make the battery fold? We didn't. We have two batteries. So as far as the
That's
concern
madness.
or the argument that this thing is only going to last 5 minutes, at the very least, they included two batteries in there on either side of the Fold. So again, they did not include it in the demo room. So there's still a lot of skepticism. There's a lot of
Yeah.
uncertainty about this because it's a new device, because there's a lot of hype around it. And I think the skepticism is justified because the reviewers haven't taken it through its paces. Consumers haven't taken it through its paces. Usually, the way that these things go is that consumers get it, they write their reviews. Some things they catch, some things they don't catch. And then it goes out into the consumer market. And without fail, something comes up within the first week or two
Yeah.
where you talk about, something with the new iPhone. I feel like that
Right.
used to happen every single year.
Yeah.
So with the Samsung Fold, I would like almost guarantee something like that will happen. Whether, God forbid, they end up with another Note 7 situation.
Yeah. I mean, those are definitely a rarity.
Yes.
Thankfully. But it is an unknown technology for mass market. So we'll see.
Yeah.
P Imp Mom says, "Hey, I asked that question first. Sorry, there's a lot to filter through, but
You're
credit
also
where
smart.
credit's due."
You're smart. And
You-
you're smart. And you're smart. And you're smart. And you're smart too.
Here's
Star.
another caveat pointed out by Saban. Just add S Pen to it. Why not add it? That's a missed
Great.
opportunity. What a shame, Samsung.
I agree. I would say look for Gen 2. So spend the 2,000 now and then spend another 2,000, I'm going to say 2,500 for the S Pen version. Because that S Pen, they're going to need two S Pens on either side of the Fold. But I totally agree with you. I don't know why,
Yeah.
other than for just like reducing complexity or saving money, why they wouldn't include an S Pen, because
Right.
this thing's bigger than a Note. So
Yeah.
great point, I would say, on that.
Here's a challenge for you. Our good friend Carlos, who is visually impaired, he wanted us to try to describe the look and feel of the phone. So what would you really call it? What would you equate it to? I'd say size-wise, it literally feels like, I've got a notebook here, which a visual aid isn't really going to help in this sense, but it feels largely like holding a little notepad for those of us like...
Yeah, like a steno pad.
Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of what flashed into my mind. But how would you describe the look and feel of this for Carlos?
When it's folded, it's kind of like a smaller phone. Like
It's
I said,
thinner.
it's
Yeah.
smaller and thinner. And then when it folds
Thinner.
out, it folds out not to the size of like a big tablet, but to the size of like a
Fire.
reasonably, maybe a
Yeah.
little bit smaller than a Fire tablet. It's 7 inches across, and it's kind of like wider than it is taller, and but there's no crease. The whole innovation is that there's no crease in the middle. It's all one seamless device, which is why like everybody's like oohing and eyeing over these things. Because if there was a crease in the middle, then it just looks like one of those Nintendo 3DS machines, where it's you got a screen here, you got a screen here, and like a big hinge in between. So yeah. Anyway, I hope that's helpful, Carlos.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to describe. Don't forget the pillbox, though, too, up in the upper right-hand corner.
Oh,
The camera cutout.
yeah. They've got a camera cut out on the inside for selfies. Because I don't know, you need selfies to show people how they can't afford this thing, but you can.
All right, just enough time to squeeze a few more in. Is Samsung cannibalizing the S10 with the 5G phone? Seems like a logical choice. The 5G would be released later this year.
Good question. I don't know that we know the price for the 5G phone. Plus, 5G is in such a limited release right now that I think most people are just going to buy the S10. So the concept of cannibalization, if Samsung plays this the right way, then they'll be able to bridge all their main S phones at some point to 5G, but it's really not time to do that yet. 5G is like such a limited release right now. You're going to have to be in like one neighborhood in one guy's house. He's the 5G guy. You're going to have to hold the phone out the window to actually get the 5G. So at this point, I don't know. I don't even know who's going to buy the 5G phone. You're going to buy the 5G phone just to tell your friends you bought the 5G phone.
Yep.
And then you're going to keep it inside the fold of the Samsung Galaxy Fold because you have too much money.
Michael Brown asks, what do you think Samsung needs to do to own this market early before Apple tries to come in and swoop it all up like they did with smartwatches and so many times before?
Well,
I
first
don't
step
know.
is getting a product to market, which
Check.
Samsung has checked off, and
Which
Apple has
everybody's
not.
checked off before Apple. However,
However,
I mean,
Apple
Apple-
has swooped in.
Yeah, but I mean, like when we say like Samsung is worldwide, Samsung's a bigger handset maker than Apple is. So like, I wouldn't even. It's a great question. And you brought up you brought up watches more so than phones, but Samsung isn't like, it's not second fiddle to Apple.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination.
No, but he just points out like the whole marketing aspect that Apple's going to come in and try to own it like they always do,
Yeah,
and
but
people
that's
can.
Apple. I mean, like Samsung can't control Apple
True.
being full of themselves.
What we really need to do,
Totally
yeah,
true.
we need to get like a marketing specialist on the show to like flesh out a strategy for like a new product or a theoretical product or something like that. That could be fun one day.
Yeah.
We got a lot of business-minded people in the chat. I enjoy that.
So related to Michael's question, I think having like a composed device that wasn't rushed to market just to beat Apple, that's really important. And it looks like they actually did that in this regard. We haven't seen it yet, so maybe it is a rushed pile of crap that has a bunch of bugs in it. I'm either completely right in that argument, or it's hard to say. But I think Apple's probably going to wait until they actually come out with something. It might be a couple of years. It might be.
Yeah.
I've seen no rumors whatsoever about a foldable Apple phone, so it might not be coming anytime soon. Yeah. They might wait to see if there is actually a market for it, and then when they do come out with one, it'll be well baked into the market.
Yeah, yeah.
A few more questions. How long into the near future until the prices on these foldables start to become a little more palatable?
Couple years.
Just a couple?
Quite a few years. I'm going to go at least 5 years.
I mean, the main thing you need is competition. You need the technology to become less expensive itself. And then you need competition to drive the price down. And so right now there's not much competition.
Yeah, and you also need scale. So you need a lot of people buying this thing, and they're not going to for $2,000 or $2,600.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, do we have any Oscar questions? I want to talk more about that. That's why I'm throwing it out there.
No, man. People want to talk the phones.
I know.
We talk Huawei. We talk Samsung. How long until we think
God
Apple,
damn it.
Google, and LG are jumping on to the foldable bandwagon?
Tomorrow, there's going to be a surprise announcement. I don't know. I don't want to talk about phones, all you phone-obsessed people.
Let's do it. We're gonna hijack the Q&A and talk about Netflix.
That's fine. You can talk about phones. I'll just sit here and be grumpy.
Okay, let's talk. We got just a couple minutes left. We've talked a lot of foldable phones. There inevitably will be more foldable phone talk in the near future. So save up the questions. Let's refresh the palate though. I watched the Oscars last night begrudgingly because my girlfriend had a Oscar watching party. Granted, I spent half of it playing Smash Brothers and drinking. Nice. So, what were some of the highlights last night?
Well, for our audience, in terms of technology, the concept that Netflix still can't quite make it to be a Best Picture. It had its best shot ever with Roma, but there's a lot of resistance to Netflix and the way that they do business among traditional Hollywood, and the Oscars are more institutionalized Hollywood than the Emmys are. So yeah, Netflix has tons of Emmys, but it still can't quite crack that last rung of success in Hollywood.
Was Amazon at all present?
No,
not
really. I think they had some things that were nominated. They had, I think, like a foreign language film, either short or a feature. I can't remember which that they were pushing for, but they did not. Yeah, they didn't have last year. Like they had. Big Sick had some nominations. Manchester by the Sea had big nominations, and they won a couple big categories for Manchester by the Sea. I think maybe for Big Sick too. I can't remember. It's a long time ago. But they definitely had a greater presence last year by far more than Netflix, and the roles were definitely reversed this time around. Yeah.
A lot of people are pointing out the Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper performance.
Yeah.
I just want to say, like, I fanboyed out over Queen. I thought Adam did a really nice homage tribute to Freddie without trying to be Freddie. But I did just finally watch Bohemian Rhapsody, which I enjoyed very much.
I heard mixed. I haven't seen that movie.
The
and I
biggest
heard
criticism
mixed
with
reviews
Bohemian
on it.
Rhapsody, the people just say that it glazed over too much. Like, yeah, it's a 2-hour movie that is a movie. It's not a documentary. There are great documentaries out there if you want to really get into the true nitty-gritty and get all the details. This is just kind of for the sake of fun and kind of a love letter to Mercury and his legacy. But I thought everyone in it was truly excellent. I really did enjoy the movie, and, it's an excuse to listen to more Queen.
Yeah, there were definitely controversial winners last night, but there were surprises in the acting wins, but I think that nobody really has been protesting over any of the winners of the acting categories.
It's more for Best Picture, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of controversy around Best Picture, mostly around Best Picture, which was Green Book. A lot of people thought that. And also around like things like editing for Bohemian Rhapsody. People
Editing.
Yeah.
Got controversy.
Sound editing or video editing?
I think it won editing, like
won-
video editing.
Well, I
It
think it
also
won
won sound editing and sound mixing. It also won those two. But
Which is where I took issue because I really wanted that to go to A Quiet Place.
Yeah. The horror was shut out
Yeah.
at the Oscars from the one thing that they got nominated for. Oh, but Black Panther did great. Like
Yeah.
And Spider-Verse.
Yeah, and Into the Spider-Verse
Geeks
won.
Rap,
Is that a Sony movie though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very spread out award ceremony last night. There wasn't one movie that dominated a bunch of different categories. I think Bohemian Rhapsody won 4 awards, and Roma and The Favorite and another movie,
All got
Green
3.
Book, won 3. They all
Yeah.
tied for 3. So everything was very spread out. There wasn't a single dominating film. But yeah, I was really happy that Into the Spider-Verse.
Look, I'll never forgive the Oscars for snubbing Glenn Close again.
Yeah,
So-
what the hell, man?
Yeah, dude. And I think Amy Adams was also in that category, if I'm right. Amy Adams and Glenn Close have been snubbed so many times. It's like, just don't submit anymore. Just come on. You're really great actresses. You don't need this thing to tell you. I don't know. I'm still steamed about Martin Scorsese. Lost on Raging Bull, and then he ended up winning on The Departed, which he admitted was a bad movie. He was like, I just kind of crapped it out.
Yeah.
My homework was a little late, and I
The
threw it
Oscars are
together.
weird.
The Oscars are weird.
They give weird recognition. And it's something that's long ongoing.
Right, and sometimes you would know this better than I do, but sometimes they want to just like zig when the other award shows zag because they come so late in the process that they want to be like, oh, everybody likes this award or likes this actor or this movie. We're going to give it to the other one because we want to create some surprise.
Yeah, that's sort of, except that kind of assumes that there's like one person who's deciding all these, or like a small group, but it's like a giant body of people that are all voting on these things. So it's not like it's not like the winners are conscious decisions to surprise people. The surprises are just because of like how the voting is very odd for some categories, or who knows, or because of the Constitution, the makeup of the people that are voting, which has changed a lot in recent years, which is why you're seeing like there were like 3 or 4 women of color that won last night, which was the first. The fact that Black Panther won 3 awards also was, being a Black-led cast in a movie that's considered to be like popcorn fare is very unusual for the Oscars. And that's because in the last few years, the Academy's worked to diversify its makeup a lot more. So it's not just like old white guys voting for everything, which mostly means what other white guys have been making, usually.
I mean, is the concept of the Oscars absolutely fully validating? Whatever. It is what it is. It's an event. It's another thing to watch. It's nice to see people in the industry appreciate each other. One thing I really wanted to just pinpoint here is that when they started to threaten that we're going to unveil these awards or whatever during the commercial breaks, which ultimately, of course, didn't happen.
Right.
That takes away validation, as there are so many more people like me who are behind the camera kind of thing.
Yeah.
Those categories should be shined on more because that is such a burgeoning area for students coming up through television and radio school like myself. I mean, I would want that to continue to be a highlight, to keep showing how much is happening behind the camera. Sure, actors are great, but
they're already
for
getting
every
a ton of
one actor,
attention.
there's 100 people making that scene happen. So
I I agree with you. I think that, first of all, I think that award show is way too long. So I do
Last night
understand.
they did pretty good.
What do they do? 3 hours?
It was 3 hours and 10 minutes. It's
Okay.
supposed to be 3. They only went 10 over, but it has gone like half an hour, 45 minutes over in the past.
Right. So I do think that they did try to push some of those other awards to commercials to try to slim it down a little, because 3 hours is a long commitment, obviously, when it's not football.
Oh, but you didn't have to sit through the 2.5-hour pre-show red carpet crap like I did.
Oh my God, that was quite an Oscar party that you guys were throwing.
Who
but
do
yeah,
you think looked best on the red carpet, BVG? Whose dress did you like the best?
When Melissa McCarthy came up and presented with the rabbit puppet. That was a highlight of fashion for my night.
Right.
I willfully avoided the Oscars, so
Right.
I don't get the joke.
Okay, anything else to discuss with the Oscars before we wrap it up for the day?
No, thank you for placating me.
No, it's
I'm
it's
happy
always
with that.
It's water cooler talk, man. It's gonna happen sooner or later.
And I just wanted to give a shout out to Glenn Close. I know she's a fan of the show, so I hope you're watching, Glenn. And we think you're great here at
It's
the
true.
359.
I think all the people that were nominated were pretty great. They're
Yeah,
all great
well,
actresses.
I was happy to see Spike Lee finally won a competitive Oscar.
Yeah.
I'm always like pushing for the ones that
Underdogs.
were snubbed so
snub,
many times.
yeah.
So I'm hoping Amy Adams ends up winning one. They should just give an Oscar to everybody
She hasn't
that's
won one? I thought she
nominated.
did for June.
She's been nominated so many times. Always the bridesmaid.
So-
But whatever. Anyway,
If
I
no
digress.
one, if you're out there and you didn't watch the Oscars, even if you're like anti-Oscars, do yourself a favor, go look up Javier Bardem rocking out to Queen. It is the best GIF on the internet this week, I promise you. Anyways, that's it for us. We're out of time. Thanks you for coming. Thank you for entertaining us as much as we try to entertain you. And we'll be back tomorrow. Ben, Joan, who wants to take us out today?
I'll do it. The 359 is available on iTunes, TuneIn, FeedBurner, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Google Podcasts, the Amazon Echo, and of course, CNET.com. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.